What's up, college football fans? It's the one and only Cole Thompson here. And why have we not talked more about Arizona this offseason? Genuinely, why have we not brought up the Wildcats in more national conversations? Because this was one of the breakout teams of 2023. They were able to get to 10 wins. They surprised everybody in the Pac-12. And it felt like a new era of Wildcat football was about to embark. And then they nearly hit DEFCON 1. Everything almost self-imploded on itself, and it was back down to the square root when they were a defeated, lackluster program. But it now feels like with everything being stabilized in the last several weeks, this is a team that might be able to compete for a Big 12 title. And I figured let's go ahead and talk about the Wildcats today and what moves have been made in recent weeks to keep them right in contention. But if you're new here, welcome on into the channel, people. Make sure that you like, comment down below your thoughts on the Wildcats, what you can expect from them going into a new era of Big 12 football, and hit subscribe because we're talking college football every single day leading up to week 1 and well into the chaotic, crazy 2024 season. Make sure that you're following me on social media, wherever you get your social media platforms. I'm on everywhere: TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, you name it. It's the exact same as my YouTube handle at Mr. Cole Thompson. So when you hit subscribe here, go on over there and make sure you hit follow. If you are a Wildcat fan, welcome on back into the channel. I told you guys I hadn't forgot about you, but make sure that you're telling your friends, your family, your mortal enemies, best of bros, and college football aficionados, plus the Wildcat Nation everywhere about this channel, because we're on the race to not only be the #1 YouTube show talking about our favorite sport, but also the #1 college football community. And if you have a question you want read live on air, go ahead and email me at colethompsonwriting@gmail.com. Link down there below. And make sure that you're also following me or sliding the DMs on Twitter at Mr. Cole Thompson. I believe Arizona's in contention. I believe Arizona, without question, can be a team that goes into the Big 12 and makes an immediate impact. Are they going to be playing a little bit down and out of the count? Certainly. Is there going to be a little bit of a transition with a brand new coach? Absolutely. Did they lose some key elements to their team to the transfer portal? Yes, they did. But they kept the main ones. They kept the key players. They kept the reason why this team trended upward at the right time underneath Jedd Fisch last season that coasted its way to a 10-3 finish and hoisted up the Alamo Bowl trophy. They didn't lose Noah Fifita. They didn't lose Tetairoa McMillan. And they just found out earlier this week, Tacario Davis, the 6'4" cornerback, he's going to come back for another year in Tucson. So the key elements to your team, your breakout quarterback, your breakout wide receiver, your #1 corner, are all retained. And this is also a very veteran roster. Yes, you did lose some names, Jonah Coleman being one of them. You also lost one of your safeties. You lost one of your cornerbacks. You lose Tanner McLaughlin to the NFL draft. You lose Jordan Morgan. But I still like this roster. I still like the makeup of this roster. And I think that there's something to be said about when you have a young core that is able to redefine who this team is, carry on that little bit of weight of being a leader that early on, like Fifita had to. It's very challenging to say that you're going to regress instead of improve. Because the quarterback, everyone can say, as clear as day, is the most important position on the football field. If you don't have a quarterback, you don't have a good secondary quarterback, your season's over before it even truly begins. It's great when you have a #1 wide receiver. It's really great when you have an elite #1 wide receiver. But if you don't have the quarterback, you can't really do anything about it. But when you have both, and both already have a great cohesion and connection together, at that point, that's when you kind of have to go ahead and hit pause and say, well, yeah, they did lose their head coach. Well, yeah, they did lose a couple of key players, but the main ones are still here. When you have a leader on defense like Tacario Davis, 6'4", is able to create turnovers like no one's business and do so against overqualified quarterbacks, Michael Penix Jr., you could throw Bo Nix in the conversation. You could throw, I don't know, the #1 overall pick, Caleb Williams. When you're able to do that, I think that you're going to be able to handle the Big 12. And the thing about the Big 12, I've made this abundantly clear multiple times. I think that it is the craziest, most chaotic, greatest conference in all of college football because there's so much variety in the sport. You're going to have a team like Kansas State that can run a bunch of wishbone options if they see fit. You're going to have teams run the spread formation. You're going to have teams be a ground and pound roster. You're going to have teams rely heavily on their defense because of returning production. Every single week is going to be a chaotic crap show, and it's also going to be basically shooting fish in a barrel, and hopefully you come out on top. That's what the Big 12 is, and because Arizona has its 3 key elements back, plus they also retained, and I know I'm going to butcher the name, so please, Arizona fans, go ahead and be pissed at me. Go in the comments section. In fact, I'd actually rather you just go in the comment section and be pissed at me. Jonas Salavina on offensive tackle. You can move him over to now left tackle. You feel good about everything else. You also were able to retain Raymond Polito. You also were able to retain Dorian Thomas. You also were able to retain Kenyon Burnett. So these are players that you're going to ask a bigger role from, but you also feel pretty content on where they are. Yeah, you lose 29 players. You also brought in over a dozen and a half players. So I look at this team right now with where they sit, and I look at their schedule. It's not the hardest, definitely not the easiest to say the least, but certainly when you look at that game against Kansas State, not being a divisional matchup, that kind of bodes well in your favor. You get to see what the Big Ten is like without actually having a Big 12 is like without actually having this be a Big 12 game. Got games coming up afterwards against Utah, Texas Tech, BYU. I don't know what version we're going to get of Brayton Kuthi and of Cam Rising fully healthy. I don't know if we're going to see the progression underneath Joey McGuire going into year 4. BYU, they're hit and miss. Colorado, West Virginia, UCF, all teams that could have poise to make a run, but it doesn't mean that they will. Just means that they look on paper as good as you, but doesn't mean that they're at the same level as you. And then you close out the year with Houston, TCU, and Arizona State. You should win all 3 of those games. Vegas is not sleeping on Arizona whatsoever. They believe in the Wildcats. Their win total, according to FanDuel as of this morning, 7.5. So they think that, yeah, you're translating over to a brand new conference, but because you have the quarterback, because you have the wide receiver, you're in a good spot. I look at the schedule and I say that any given Saturday, if there ever was a saying that could work for that, the Big 12 is the conference, you put that on. Any given Saturday, you could see a team win. And I look at what you bring back in terms of the consistency, plus you add in a coach that truly buys in to what is Arizona football. Now, I'm not saying that Jedd Fisch didn't do some wonders. I know a lot of people in the Arizona community hate Jedd Fisch. They hate who he is. They hate how he handled things. They hate the way that he departed the program, not just for money, but also for what felt like a bigger opportunity. But when you get a guy like Brent Brennan, who was able to culminate 7+ win seasons on the regular at San Jose State, I don't know how many Wildcat fans out there or college football fans just in general know about the allocations and the resources and what is actually at a place like San Jose State. But when you're able to publicly fundraise and get your team the resources and the benefactors it needs to be successful, and you buy in and you think that not Arizona is a great school, but it's a dream school, more importantly, it's your dream school, you're going to put the blood, sweat, tears, work, tenacity, drip, everything that you have into this program to set a tone because you want to be remembered there. Just like Ted McMillan wants to be remembered there. Just like a guy in Noah Fifita wants to be remembered there. Just like Tacario Davis wants to be remembered there. This is a good, fun roster. It's middle tier where you have some young guys that you're going to ask to step up once again, but some veteran guys that last season had to be more of an influential leader and kind of had that baseline underneath them to where you feel confident that they can take that step forward. I like this Arizona team. And it baffles me that we don't talk about them enough, but I think I know why. You look at other programs in college football, negativity sells. Do me a favor. Turn on your local news tonight and tell me what is the first story that pops up. Because I can promise you if your team is not doing something in the postseason when it comes to the NBA finals or the NHL or anything going on in your sport, it's going to be negative because negativity sells. What's the number one story in college football right now? The whole Deion thing. Yeah, Deion's worried about winning a war on Twitter, not winning a war in the trenches on Saturdays. But that's a story. It's negativity. It sells. There hasn't really been a lot of negativity around Arizona since Brent Brennan came in and stabilized the roster. There hasn't really been a lot of backlash since Tetairoa McMillan and Noah Fifita said, we're going to come back. And now there's more positivity because you hear, well, my number one defender is back in the building, and that is your number one defender. I feel really good about myself. Don't sleep on the Wildcats just yet. They are wacky. They are zany. They are wild. They live up to their name. Because I don't know what to make of this team. Could I see them go 9-3? Yeah. Could I see them go 5-7? Potentially. Probably not. I think 7-5 is probably their floor. But I look top to bottom at where this roster is and where it could have been after you saw the mass exits of players enter the portal, enter the draft, follow Jedd Fisch up to Seattle, and you get the main ones. Yeah, you lose some names, and it does hurt. It does sting. But you kept the key elements. And when you have your key elements, you're able to build around it. You build around a guy like McMillan. You build around a guy like Fifita. You allow a guy like Davis to play however he sees fit. And lo and behold, I think the results will speak volumes in the not-so-distant future. Arizona, they are probably not going to win the national championship this year. But don't you damn think for 1 second that they're not going to be a reason why 2 or 3 teams in the Big 12 aren't going to Arlington because if they had to unfortunately get the short end of the stick when they played against the Wildcats. But give me your thoughts down below. What do you think of Arizona right now? They have been quietly doing a lot of positive work going into the regular season of a new era in the Big 12. Can they be a Big 12 contender? Go ahead and leave a comment. Make sure that you also hit subscribe while you're here. Tell your friends, your family, your mortal enemies, best of bros, college football aficionados everywhere about this channel because we're on the race to become the #1 community whenever it comes to college football. Right here on YouTube. Follow me on social media, TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, at Mr. Cole Thompson. And to keep up with everything that I'm doing, make sure that you slide in the DMs and ask me questions. I love interacting with everyone. Make sure that we carry this conversation well past the likes of YouTube. Until next time, Wildcat fans, until next time, college football faithful, I'm the one and only Cole Thompson. And as Dave Pay said, take it easy.